Welcome in. This is Word on the Curb. I'm Annette Latigue. This is where we talk about real life as it's actually happening because when life gets loud, we don't have to. And before we get into tonight's conversation, I'd like to pause for a moment. So many of us have lost people we love, friends, family, people who mattered to our everyday life. If you're carrying that kind of loss right now, I send you my deepest condolences. And I want to say this gently and honestly because this loss includes me too. In October, I lost my nephew. And you don't just move past something like that, you learn how to carry it. So, wherever you are tonight, I just want to remind you of something simple and real. We may be broken, but we're still breathing. Get back up. Last week at Word on the Curb, we talked about let them be triggered, not reacting, not explaining ourselves, not trying to manage how other people feel about our life. When life gets loud, not everything deserves a response. That was last week. This week is what happens after you actually live that because something shifts when you stop reacting, when you stop explaining, when you stop filling in everybody's blanks, when you stop filling it in. People don't just feel a way, they start reacting. They start reaching for your life, for your plans, for your thinking, for your next move, for access. And that's tonight's conversation. You don't owe everybody access. At some point, you just stop moving the same. You don't announce it. You don't post about it. You don't sit anybody down and explain it. You just stop telling everybody everything. You stop talking through decisions while you're still making them. You stop giving play by play updates. You stop answering questions that don't really need answers. And to you, it feels natural. It feels like your life finally belongs to you. But that's but what's interesting, that's interesting, right? But what's interesting is what happens around you. The quieter you get, the more attention people pay to what you're not saying. Side comments, little questions, longer pauses. You've been quiet lately. You're moving different. You don't really say much anymore. Same words, different energy. Because the real change isn't your mood, it's the access you're not giving. Access is information. Who knows what you're doing? Who knows what you're planning? Who knows what you're thinking before it becomes real? Access is who feels comfortable asking you about things that are already decided. And when that access changes, even a little bit, people feel it. Some people were comfortable with you, not because the relationship was deep, but because they always knew what was going on. They knew your business, they knew your worries, they knew your next step before you took it. And when that window closes or even narrows, the dynamic shifts, not with an argument, just with a feeling. This shows up everywhere in families, in friendships, in workspaces, in communities. When you stop explaining yourself, people start asking different questions, not because they suddenly care more, but because the access has changed. Some people don't actually want connection, they don't. They want access. They want to stay in the loop. They want commentary rights. They want to feel included by default. They want to know what you're doing so they can feel position. And when you stop handing that out automatically, it becomes noticeable. This is where last week and this week meet. Last week we said let people be triggered. Don't jump. Don't rush. Don't manage other people's reactions. This week is the next step. You also don't explain your life to make other people comfortable. You don't fill silence just so the room feels better. You don't narrate your moves in real time because here's the truth: not everything needs commentary, not everything needs witnesses, not everything needs to be shared. Some things move better quiet. When life gets loud, one of the strongest things you can do is move without noise. Yeah, move without noise. No announcement, no defense, no long explanations, just movement. And something else starts to happen too. You realize how often you were managing other people's comfort. Yeah, you become aware, answering questions just to smooth things over, explaining decisions just to avoid tension, talking through things just so nobody would misunderstand you. That's exhausting. And eventually you stop doing it. You stop trying to make everybody okay with your choices. You stop editing your life in real time. You stop shrinking moments that actually matter to you. You become steadier, not louder. This isn't about cutting people off. It's not about becoming distant. It's not about making statements. It's about deciding what stays yours: your timing, your thinking, your healing, your next move. And let me say this clearly: everybody who knows you does not automatically get access to you. Everybody who has history with you does not automatically get updates on your presence. You're present. You're present. They don't get automatic updates on your present. Everybody who asked you questions is not entitled to answers. That doesn't make you whole. It makes you grounded. It means you finally understand the difference between being open and being overexposed. And here's something else that comes with this season: the people who really respect you adjust without pushing. They don't demand explanations. They don't pressure you. They don't make your quiet personal. They just meet you where you are. That tells you a lot. And the ones who struggle the most are usually the ones who've benefited the most from you being over available. That's not shade, that's reality. When life gets loud, and it is loud right now for so many of us, you don't need to perform your life. You don't need to prove your peace. You don't need to explain your growth. You don't need to manage other people's fears. You don't need to shrink your clarity to protect somebody else's discomfort. You are allowed to move differently. You are allowed to be quieter. You are allowed to protect your energy. You are allowed to protect your timing. You are allowed to protect your healing. And yes, some people will feel a way about that. Let them, because tonight isn't about being triggered, it's about what comes after it. It's about access. So here's what I want you to remember as you go into the rest of your week: you don't owe everybody access just because they're used to having it. Some things change, some dynamics shift, and you don't have to announce it. This is Word on the Curb. This is Word on the Curb. This is the Word on the Curb. When life gets loud, you don't have to. Less reacting, more living. Good night. See you next week.